Thank you, Dr. Khalsa. And after CP sir's remarks or opening comments, I feel as to what should I speak about, because I wanted to present a very neutral view on what deglobalization is. So, when we talk of globalized world, so we are a single planet. All of us are interdependent. No one nation has resources that can cater to their own needs. So we are dependent. So we need something from somebody else so that we thrive and survive. Yes, उल्टा कर देते हैं, so that we survive to thrive. Sir ने GATT की बात करी. So is it okay if I use a Hindi-English mix? So sir ने GATT की बात करी, and then WTO came in. So when WTO came in, they initially defined nations as first world, third world, or developed or developing. And then they came up with a concept that developing nations need more share in terms of global trade so that they can come at par with the developed nations. And then one fine day, President Nixon came into power and he decided that US economy needs to outsource some things. And that is where China came into play. So before I start talking about how China came into play, I'll just talk on how US economy and the European economy are different. Although I'm not an expert on economy, but economics have been a subject of choice for me for a long time. So the European companies have always worked upon long-term gains in terms of, so they never talk of short-term gains for their shareholders or stakeholders, whereas the US economy has always worked on the concept of short-term gains. So US economy is a quarter-to-quarter economy, whereas if we talk of the European economy in general, so it is a long-term 5-year, 10-year kind of economy. That's how those businesses shape themselves. और जब वो quarter-to-quarter economy की हम लोग बात करते हैं, तो हमें short-term gains की बहुत ज़्यादा आवश्यकता होती है. खालसा सर ने जैसा बताया that the trade deficit between US and China, which is standing at approximately $400 billion. I'll come up with one more point there. So the overall import percentage of China to the US, or the Chinese imports into the US, constitutes 17% of the total imports into the US. Whereas if we talk of the exports to China, they do not even constitute 5%. So US 5%, China का जो overall import है उसका 5% contributor है, whereas China is contributing 17%. And then there's balance of power situations which come into play. So now we say America first, make in India. I can talk to CP sir about it, how make in India is not make in India really. So if you're talking about make in India, how can you leverage advantages of companies which are operating out of India? You can talk technology transfers, you can talk so many things. It cannot be one single word like let's make America great again, or make in India, or made in India. You have to think about it in a global sense, you have to think about it in a collaborative sense. If you do not bring in people together, it will not work. Because do you want to reinvent the wheel every time you want to make a wheel? You should not. If somebody has already made a better wheel, you should use that better wheel and work upon that. And that is what China has been able to do progressively. That is what South Korea has been able to do very progressively, wherein Korean companies have, although it's slightly tricky to say, but Korean companies have set aside IPR laws, or the country has set aside IP, intellectual property, and helped their companies grow technologies based on somebody else's IP for years at large. And that's why we see, whereas in the Indian economy, we always respected IP, especially IP coming from outside our shores. Internal IP की मैं बात नहीं करूँगा because again, it's something that we can debate upon. So we need to understand how these things have shaped up across the globe and how countries have tried to use minuscule things to their advantage and become powers. And now when we're talking about deglobalization, we always talk about how China, US war is happening, trade war is happening. But in the true sense, deglobalization has been started by the EU, European Union. And why I say that, you would have heard a lot of cases where EU has put up fines on Google, on Facebook, and so many other so many technology companies that have been operating across the globe. Because in the true sense, अगर कोई सी industry global है, तो वो software IT services industry है. Why? Because it does not work on boundaries. We are also using Microsoft Windows. We browse and talk to our friends on Facebook. We use email services by Google. Similarly, everybody else across the world is using those services. But what EU did, EU came up with GDPR. So GDPR is, so there are data protection rules. I think it's global or general. I'm not able to recall what G stands for. And they said, if you are storing data and if you are using data of European EU citizens, you need to follow GDPR. It's a standard which is different from all other countries. So true deglobalization has started there. But because we are not actually analyzing the impact of it, so do you want, अगर मैं China की भी बात करूँगा, do you want every country to have a different Facebook or a different social media network? Do you want every country to have a different email network? We do not want that. But EU has already started that. You would have heard $3 billion of fine on Facebook, $500 million of fine on Google. Why? Because they have not been able to store or serve data the way EU laws have defined them. In this global world where the servers are scattered across the world, a server sitting in Chennai might be serving to data that is being mined in Belgium. How can you be sure about it? How can you set boundaries about it? But they are doing it. To a very great extent, China has also started to do it. So I'm not able to recall names, but China has a social media network which is more powerful than Facebook internally. China does not talk about Ubers of the world, they talk about Didi or Grab. So where are we moving? अगर हम देखें deglobalization के तहत कुछ देश या कुछ देशों के समूह उसको छोटे तरीके से subdued manner में आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं. And then we have the Americas of the world who are pointing guns and missiles at everybody around because maybe they are the biggest power when it comes to currency power. They have the biggest exposures. So why I say that is there, US is slightly scared of China. I think everybody knows that. The reason is approximately $1.5 trillion worth of US government bonds are with China, on which attract interest. So अगर मैं उस पैसे को मिला दूं deficit में, so the amount would multiply. Just think about it. Because apart from the $400 billion that is going in as deficit from the US side, they are also paying interest on $1.5 trillion every year to China. Is it a good sign? If I would have been an American, no it is not. If I would have been an American, मेरे लिए क्या होता? भाई मेरी नौकरी तो चली गई, मेरा पैसा चला गया, और जो पैसा मैं अपने देश के लिए कमा रहा हूँ वो मैं ब्याज की तरह उस देश को दे रहा हूँ जिसकी वजह से मेरी नौकरी और मेरा पैसा चला गया. So that is where the concept of Make America Great Again came in. But it is not possible for a single country to do everything to do everything by themselves. And why I say that, it's a world which works on balances. And if an economy or economics or money is the biggest balancing power right now, and if those balances shift, there would be turmoil. A lot of people, if you read about World War I, you will find out those balances started shifting. Economy वहाँ पर भी कहीं ना कहीं reason था चीजों के shift होने में. So I'll not take a lot of time, but I'll just say that you should read about how economy played a role in World War I. World War II, I'm not very sure economy played a big role, but during World War I, economy played a very big role, major role. So World War I happened because of economic disbalance. And maybe we are calling it trade wars, but I think it is the battle of supremacy that we are talking about. And the battle of supremacy might divide the world into two parts. And maybe we might not be deglobalized, but we would be bi-globalized, and that is what I say. Thank you.